In August 1971, 24 young men walked into a basement at Stanford University. They were students, healthy, ordinary, chosen because there was nothing wrong with them. 6 days later, the experiment was shut down. Some of them were broken. Some of them had become something they didn't recognize. And the man who designed it all had lost control of his own mind. This is what happens when you give ordinary people power over others. It began with a simple question. What makes good people do evil things? Is cruelty in our nature or in our circumstances? A psychologist named Philip Zimbardo wanted to find out. He placed an ad in the newspaper. Male college students needed for a study of prison life. 75 men applied. Zimbardo chose 24, the most stable, the most normal of them all. Then he flipped a coin. Heads, you're a prisoner. Tails, you're a guard. A single coin toss would decide who held the power and who would suffer under it. The basement of the psychology building was transformed into a prison. Real cells, real bars, real locks. The guards were given uniforms, mirrored sunglasses, so no one could see their eyes. The prisoners were given numbers. From that moment on, they had no names. The experiment was meant to last 2 weeks. It would not survive the week. Day 1 was quiet, awkward. The guards weren't sure how to act. The prisoners laughed, treating it like a game. It wasn't a game for long. By day 2, the prisoners rebelled. They tore off their numbers. They barricaded their cells. The guards responded with force. They stripped the prisoners. They sprayed them with fire extinguishers. They threw the leaders into solitary confinement, a dark closet they called the hole. And then something shifted. The guards discovered they liked it. They invented punishments, push-ups, humiliation. They forced the prisoners to clean toilets with their bare hands. They woke them at 2 a.m. for head counts that served no purpose, except to remind them who was in control. The prisoners stopped fighting back. They began to believe they truly were prisoners. And the guards began to believe they were truly guards. Prisoner 8612 was the first to break. He screamed, he cried, he begged to leave. They almost didn't let him go, because somewhere along the way, the people running a study had forgotten it was only a study, including Zimbardo himself. He had stopped being a scientist. He had become a prison warden, protecting his prison, worrying about security, losing the line between the experiment and reality. It took an outsider to wake him. A young researcher walked into the basement, saw what was happening, and asked him one simple question. Don't you see what you're doing to these boys? For the first time in days, he saw. Normal young men reduced to numbers, crying in the dark, obeying without question. And other normal young men who had become their tormentors, not because they were evil, but because they were told they had power, and no one told them to stop. The experiment was terminated on day 6. Philip Zimbardo spent the rest of his life studying what he had unleashed. He called it the Lucifer effect. The line that separates good people from evil is not a wall. It's a thread, and anyone can cross it. The guards were not monsters. The prisoners were not weak. They were ordinary people, placed in a situation that rewrote who they were. So before you judge them, ask yourself one question. If a coin had been flipped for you, would you have been the prisoner or the guard? This was Case File 01. Subscribe and step deeper into the lab.